Let's compare and contrast sketching in SolidWorks and Creo Parametric. I'm starting out in SolidWorks, and we're going to take a look at 6 items in SolidWorks and Creo Parametric. Some are the same, some are different. I want to get into the sketching environment. I'm going to start off by selecting this face in the model, and then from the menu of icons that comes up, I can create a brand new sketch. Hey, let me use this tool, the view orientation tool, so I can say that I want to look straight at this face, and now I can begin sketching different entities. And for the most part, you'll find that the geometry creation tools inside of SolidWorks and Creo Parametric are the same as you will generally find with a lot of different CAD packages. Hey, when it comes to sketching, you have lines, you have circles, you have rectangles and parallelograms, you have chamfers, you have lots of different entities, and there's only so many different ones that you have. But the first thing I want to point out as a difference, in Creo Parametric, you have this concept called sketch references, and those are dashed lines that show up on the screen when you get into the sketching environment. You do not have those in SolidWorks, so that's one thing that people who are making the transition sometimes have a little difficulty wrapping their head around. So again, here in SolidWorks, we don't have any sketch references. Essentially, when you just want to constrain or dimension, you pick the entities that you want to use. But let's now take a look at some of the geometry tools that are slightly the same, slightly different. First off, if I go to this drop-down list, I have the ability to create entities like a straight slot. And with a straight slot, we can select a couple of different locations and then drag it out. And there you can see the slot that would be created. Here it has its own separate command. This is something that in Creo Parametric you access from something called the palette. Here we have another entity called the polygon tool. So for the polygon tool, I can select a surface, and right now it is set up to have 6 different sides on it. Let me drag it out just some distance over here. You can change the number of sides in your polygon. You can also define it by an inscribed or circumscribed circle and fill in the different values and then punch in the numbers that you want to use. I got this slightly at an angle. And when you're happy, hit the check mark. So those are just a couple of the geometry creation tools that are accessed a slightly different method in SolidWorks. Let me hit the escape key to get out of the polygon tool. In Creo Parametric, you would get these different kinds of entities from your palette. But let's get rid of those. I'm just going to swipe a box and then hit the delete key. Another slightly different thing, it's just really in the name. Let's say that I wanted to use the entities of existing geometry. Here, this is called convert entities. So when I go in there, I can say, hey, I want to grab these different edges of the model. I grab the face, and that way I have those different entities inside of my sketch. In Creo Parametric, it's just called project instead of convert. All right, got rid of those. Another geometry creation tool, the 3-point arc slot or the center point arc slot. These are some entities that you don't really have inside of Creo Parametric. So again, just something that is a little different. Let me then go over here and then drag it out. And so there you see the slot that's created. Let me hit the escape key. So again, those are some of the things that are the same and different inside of the environment. Let me get rid of this one. The next one that we will take a look at, let me go back to this face in the model. Let's start creating some different entities. Let's go to the parallelogram, and I'm just going to sketch it out over here. And so we've got 2 sets of sides that are parallel. And let me then go into the circle tool and just create a couple of different circles. Oops, I am still in the parallelogram tool. That's okay. Let me hit the escape out of there. Let me now go to the circle tool. There we go. Let me create one circle and create another circle over here. And those are different sizes. and I'll hit the escape key to stop creating circles. So I've created these different geometric entities, and you can see highlighted in green where we have a couple of relations between the entities. In Creo Parametric, these are called constraints. If I go to the Display Delete Relations dialog box over here, we can see that, okay, we've got parallel 7, here's parallel 8, it's highlighting in purple, here's parallel 9, here's parallel 10, and from this dialog box I could choose, hey, let's delete that one. I don't want that one anymore. How about this one? I don't want it. I can delete it from here. Then I can hit the check mark, and that way I've gotten rid of some of the relations in the model. If I go to this drop down, I can add more relations. And I can pick an entity, and it shows me, okay, if I just pick that one entity, I could say, let's make this line vertical. And now let me select this entity over here, and I'm going to make this line horizontal. Let's say I pick multiple different entities. Let's say that I pick this line and then this line. Well, I can say, okay, for these two lines, I can make them parallel, and you see how it altered that one. And I can also make them equal length. You can see how it updated the model. Now, if I say pick this circle and then this circle, well, let's see, I can make them concentric, and I could also say, let's make them the same size. So now we have two circles on top of each other. So those are the different relations that we have in the model. I can hit the check mark, and now when I go to display or delete my different relations, let me change to all in the sketch, and I can say for this equal radius, let me delete that one, and then hit the check mark, and then I could alter this particular circle. Hey, let's change the diameter to make a bigger value that you can see. And that way the two circles are no longer the same diameter, but they are still concentric. So again, those are called relations in SolidWorks. Relations in Creo Parametric are something different. Those are similar to equations that you have in SolidWorks. All right, so I've got those different entities. For what I'm going to do next, let me delete those. The next thing I will take a look at that is different is patterning. So for example, let me create just a regular rectangle, a corner rectangle, and just drag it out over here. Then let's hit the escape key. The way that you would do this, or the recommended workflow in Creo Parametric, is that you would create these different entities, and then you would exit out of the sketch mode, and then use this to create maybe an extrude or a revolve or whatever you want. You would create another feature, and then you would pattern that feature. In SolidWorks, you can pattern inside the sketch, and that's, you know, a fine workflow. It's, you know, it's okay. And so for patterning, let me select, let me actually do this. Let me select these entities and then go to a linear sketch pattern. And so I can say, okay, let's drag this out a distance. And so right now I've dragged it out about almost 22 in the X direction. And I can refine that value. Maybe I want to say, let's change this to 25. Dragging it along the x-axis, and you can change the reference that you are using. Let me make sure that I have this straight, 360 degrees. And then I could say in the second direction, maybe I want to have two instances in that direction. And right now it's giving me a spacing. Hey, let's change this, make it a little bit smaller, make the entities closer to one another. And if I'm happy with that linear pattern, I just hit the check mark, and that way I have multiple entities inside of the sketch. And if I go to the drop down, in addition to creating linear patterns in your sketch, you can also create circular sketch patterns. Hey everyone, that recording ended up going much longer than I expected, so I decided to put a break in here, and in the next video, we'll catch up with the last two items that I was talking about regarding some differences and similarities between sketching in SolidWorks and Creo Parametric. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you learned something from this video, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be informed when new videos are uploaded. Thank you very much.